Welcome, everyone. We will begin the webinar on more disruptions the collision industry will face in 2021. I'm Melissa Joles with RDA Impact, and Frank Terlep, founder and CEO of Auto Techcelerators, is your presenter today. Hey, Frank. The presentation will take approximately 60 minutes. We are recording it and we'll post it on our YouTube channel. If you have questions during the webinar, you can type them in the chat box at the bottom right of your screen, and Frank will answer them at the end of the presentation. Now I'll turn it over to Frank.
Yeah, thanks, Melissa, and welcome everybody. Welcome to another Zoom meeting in 2021. Anyway, so in today's session, I'm going to talk about some major disruptive trends that our collision industry is going to face, I think it's going to face in 2021. So many of you know me. I've had the wonderful opportunity to be in this industry since the mid-'80s. I built my first software company in the mid-'80s, helped Mitchell design their first Windows estimating and management system, helped Axle build their own management system, built my own management system called Summit, built my own digital marketing platform. Recently, up last year, was the Chief Technology Officer for Aztec. And then when I left Aztec, I started a company called Auto Techcelerators. And since we started, we've now released 3 products. Our Test Drive Copilot platform is designed to help repairers properly perform, manage, document, and get reimbursed for test drives. Our Calibration Copilot platform is designed for mobile or static calibration providers to help them offer, manage, document, and invoice for calibrations and other diagnostic services. And then most recently, we just launched our ADAS Copilot in beta this week, and that is designed to help shops quickly and accurately identify ADAS technology on a vehicle that needs an estimate or repair plan. So that's a little bit about me. Well, one other thing, I did write a book last year called Auto Industry Disruption. It's interesting to see what's happened since I wrote the book. There's a lot of things that have happened that was in the book. So if you want to get a good quick read, it's a great little book. And every paperback that's bought, I give $5 back to the Collision Industry Foundation. So that's enough about me. So we're going to talk about 6 major trends. We're going to talk about what I believe are changes that COVID created that I think are going to be permanent. I'm going to talk about the continued rapid implementation of virtual claim technologies. I'm going to talk about the ADAS technology penetration into the car park, vehicle electrification. Everybody's talking about EVs. The Consumer Electronics Show is going on right now virtually, and all kinds of conversations about EVs and new announcements about EVs there. I'm going to talk about artificial intelligence, and last but not least, I'll talk about consolidation and specialization. Those are the 6 major ones, and you'll notice at the bottom there's others: OEM certifications, big data, augmented reality, virtual reality. There's more, but I'm going to focus today on those 6. Okay. So let's talk about what I believe COVID has done and has permanently changed things that are going to affect our industry. Well, let me start out with good news though. Well, it depends on where you're at. But the good news is the vaccines are out there. There's more on the way. And hopefully wherever you live, it's coming, you have it there, it's coming to your place soon. So hopefully by next summer, we're all going to be good. Knock on wood, right? So the first thing I think COVID has changed dramatically is the work from home movement, and that's not going away. I can tell you, I'm glad I'm not in the commercial real estate business, because I just do not believe that the number of people that used to work in offices are still going to work in offices going forward. So what does that mean to our industry? Well, number one, because people aren't driving to work at specific times of the day or driving back from work at specific times of the day, the congestion is changed. Now, there may be a lot of cars on the road, but the time they're on the road is different. So reduced congestion means reduced accidents, in my opinion. The other thing that I think has been permanently changed is business travel. I think a ton of large organizations and organizations within our industry have identified that, you know what, I don't need to travel to get business done. And so I think that's going to change our industry dramatically. And then when it comes to trade shows and events, conferences, while I think people are going to want to go, I think there's going to be hesitancy. So I think going forward, you're going to see all events. Matter of fact, I think next week CIC is going to be virtual again. But I think going forward, all events that we attend within the industry will be hybrid. And what that means is not only will there be attendees, but there will be the ability for people who can't go to the event to experience the event virtually. So again, I think that those are the three main changes from work from home. Now, the good news about that for people who are in the construction business and people who are selling homes, going gangbusters right now. All right. Also, what we've seen with COVID in terms of the reduction in business, matter of fact, I just saw a statistic from CCC this morning that 21.9% reduction in business across their network that they're getting data from. So I think COVID is giving us a glimpse in the future of our business with regard to less accidents, less claims, and less repairs. And so in my opinion, our industry needs to start to look for diversifying the services we offer. If you're a repairer, that you offer to the market, and if you're a jobber, you should be looking at ways to diversify your business as well. So I don't believe, because of the work from home and a lot of other things, I think it's going to be a long time, if ever, that we're going to see the level of accidents and claims we've seen historically. Next, I think the safety and sanitation practices are not going away. So whatever safety and sanitation practices that are being implemented into the businesses today, I do not believe they're going away. So I think they're going to be permanent. Pickup and delivery, it's going to stay permanent, in my opinion. I think the consumers are going to demand it. Virtual claims, which we're going to talk about in more detail in a couple other slides, are here to stay, whether we like it or not. And then if you're in the automotive business, I mean, COVID completely changed the way cars are going to be sold. I mean, if you were not selling cars digitally, you weren't selling cars. And so that entire market, the dealer market, particularly digital retail, changed dramatically forever. And so from a COVID perspective, these are some of the things I think are going to be with us forever. All right, speaking of virtual claims technologies, you know, a lot of people are up in arms and complain. They talk about, well, photo estimating is inaccurate. Well, guess what? We agree. I agree. I think the insurers agree. I think the shops agree. But I don't think it's going away. I think, you know, photo estimating, as inaccurate as it is a way for something to get started. And again, I'm not a pro or con either way. I'm just telling the world, whether we like it or not, it's here and it ain't going away. So photo-based estimating is going to continue to increase dramatically. And by the way, over time, it will get better. It will get better. It will become more accurate. And over time, what it's going to do, in my opinion, I think it's going to allow blueprinters and repair planners and those who are actually trying to figure out how the car needs to be repaired, it's going to allow them more time to dig deeper. That's my opinion. Virtual claims processing is going to continue to go through the roof, not only in collision, but in all different claims, property, casual, all of that. So it's going to continue to go up. I think video is going to play a bigger part. As we all know, if you don't know, all states already implementing video as part of their process. I think that will continue to grow dramatically. Video is, in my opinion, when you tie it with audio, is a much better tool to communicate damage to a vehicle, damage to other things. that are damaged. So you're also going to see digital signatures dramatically increase, digital payments dramatically increase, all of that. You're going to see text payments, all of those things already starting to happen in our industry today. Telematics. Telematics is going to be in every vehicle going forward. It's as OEM manufacturers want to be able to communicate to the customer. They want to be able to do over-the-air updates. So telematics is going to be a big player in our industry. And in what way? Well, one of the ways is it's going to allow OEMs to be in the insurance business. You've seen those announcements already from some OEMs, because then they'll be able to offer insurance based on the way the consumer drives. If you look at what COVID did to insurance with people not driving today, less driving today, yeah, a lot of insurers chose to give money back to the consumer. If it were under a user-based insurance policy, pay how you drive or where you drive or how much you drive, that wouldn't be required because you would only be paying for how you're using the insurance. So telematics is going to play a big role in the way the way insurance world works, the way you pay for insurance, the way it measures your performance. I mean, all of that. So big change, big change is coming. And then, of course, telematics is also going to change the way accidents and how accidents, first notice of loss are generated. I believe over time, the first notice of loss is going to go from first notice of loss to instant notice of loss, because the car and its sensors can tell you where the damage is, if it's damaged, if it's drivable, if it's not drivable, blah, blah, blah. And then there's another term going around the industry called instant notice of event, right? An event. So you start to talk about, it's not just a collision. It could be a breakdown. It could be because now you have driver monitors. It could be someone is sick in the vehicle. I mean, so it's going to change a lot in the way the world works. I think new total loss technology and processes are going to change dramatically. I think shops who base revenue in their business based on salvaged total loss storage, be prepared to find another revenue stream, because it's my belief that total losses are going to be identified very early in the process, and I think that total loss storage revenue stream is going to go away. And then, of course, and again, we're talking a little bit more about this later today, artificial intelligence is going to be embedded in all aspects of the claim process. Anywhere from photo estimating, video supplements, every aspect of the claims process, artificial intelligence is going to affect, improve, speed up, reduce processes, et cetera, et cetera. So again, this part of the business, if you think about the way computers changed from the 80s to the 90s to the 2000s, this is going to change just as fast, if not even faster. So here's an example of what I mean by the traditional first notice of loss. And then what I'm going to show you next is what this instant notice of loss will look like. So this is what it looks like for the majority of when an accident occurs. You call the insurer, you locate the shop, you schedule the estimate, complete the estimate, you schedule the repair, complete the repair, deliver the vehicle, and then you ask for CSI. I mean, that's very typical. Now, again, there's some insurers that are ahead of the curve on this, but very, very typical first notice of loss process. When you start to talk about telematics, it changes a lot. And you can see it from the visual here, because the telematics generates the loss, the notice of loss. So there's no calling the insurer, there's no locating a shop, there's no scheduling an estimate, blah, blah, blah. So this process is going to change. And since the telematics is tied to the OEM vehicle, you can bet that this type of instant notice of loss will benefit those who are certified repairers in a certified repair network. So we've talked about COVID, and we've talked about we've talked about virtual claims. Let's talk about a huge influx and huge influence on our industry is going to be the ongoing ADAS technology penetration into the vehicles that are on the road. Last year, I think the number was 60 million ADAS equipped vehicles on the road. Today, there's 70 million ADAS equipped vehicles on the road. And remember, every year, because every year, all the OEMs stated by 2022, 97% of all vehicles that were going to be manufactured were going to have some type of ADAS. Well, most manufacturers are ahead of this goal. So, you know, you're going to see almost all vehicles beginning next year will have some type of ADAS. I will guarantee you any EV that comes off the manufacturing line is going to be loaded with ADAS and other technologies. So you start to talk about this penetration into the car park for ADAS. And if you remember what I said earlier, that COVID was a precursor to what we might see in accident reduction, the more and more ADAS technology you have on the road, the less and less accidents you're going to have. It's the way the technology is designed to work. So it's going to continue to increase. So what does that mean to us? What does it mean? Well, number one, as I said earlier, I think you're going to see a reduction in accidents and claims. You can CCC's been stating this in their quarterly report. Mitchell's been stating it. So this isn't something new that I'm coming up with. I mean, and so you're going to see reductions in accidents and claims. On the other hand, though, what you're seeing is increases in severity. And because the technology is more expensive, they're putting clusters of parts together, so the parts modules are more expensive. So you're going to see severity go up. You're also going to see more parts and component replacement versus repair. Because the more and more technology you plug into a car, you put into a vehicle, if it gets damaged, you don't repair it, you replace it. And so you're going to see more part and component replacements going forward. Ton of new repair processes. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. In my opinion, I think, you know, the more ADAS you put on the car, the different types of repair processes you need. And again, we'll talk about that. You're going to need new tools. I mean, for those of you who are in the business that have leapt into the calibration business, you know there's new tools, there's new targets, and there will continue to be new tools based on the new technology that comes into the marketplace. New training. iCar's got their hands full. There's so much coming down the pike in terms of technology and EVs and et cetera, et cetera. If you and your people are not learning something new every day, you're going to be in trouble. I mean, you got to dedicate a good amount of your time to understand this new stuff that's coming out, or you won't be able to repair it. And we're going to talk a little bit about that later. There's going to be new business models, and I'm going to talk about one later. But you're going to see, I mean, you're seeing the growth of mobile diagnostic, mobile calibration services. I think you're going to see standalone calibration businesses. And by the way, all of this stuff, this ongoing penetration in the car park for ADAS, it creates new opportunities for new businesses, new tools, new processes, new companies, new jobs for people who want new jobs. So anyway, this is what I see this year and going forward in terms of what's going to happen because of ADAS penetration. So now let me talk about 3 new important repair processes that I think all repairers are dealing with right now, and it's only going to increase over time. First challenge in the market today. And again, for all of you who are repairers or know of repairers, when I ask this question, how many of you who are repairers or know of a repairer or repairers are having a challenge identifying the ADAS technologies on a vehicle that show up at your business for an estimate or a repair plan? If you're having that challenge, please enter yes into the question box. I'm just curious so I can see that number. Melissa can repeat it later. We can then talk about it. So the number one challenge that I'm hearing is, man, this freaking car shows up in my shop and it's damaged, but what's on the damn car? So anyway, I think that's one new repair process that's going to be implemented. Number 2, calibrations Every vehicle that has ADAS, cameras, LiDAR, radar, sonar, EVs, they're all going to need calibrations. It's going to be a huge business, and I'm going to talk about that next. And then last but not least, I mean, I just did a 5-minute video yesterday. I can't believe the number of shops that are still test driving. They're test driving computers on wheels, today's vehicles, as if the vehicle was a 1990s vehicle. It's crazy. Anyway, so the third important repair process, in my mind, is properly performing, managing, documenting, and obviously getting reimbursed for test drives. So let's talk about the calibrations. I want to just pick calibrations out of those 3 new processes, okay? Let's talk about the opportunity. So as I said, 2020, 60 million, that's probably 70 million in 2021. And I think I just read that NADA is predicting 15.5 million new vehicle sales in 2021, which means in 2022, my number is going to be a little off, and you can look at the numbers. But you start to look at that number, by 2025, there's a whole bunch of vehicles on the road that have ADAS. And now you move to the right. So you go, what percentage of the part? Well, it's 46.7, 46.8 in 2025. This year is 25%. And then you look at the third column or the fourth column, what's the calibration opportunities? This is based on 0.022 number of vehicles on the road that are been in an accident or need calibration. And then the far right-hand column is the industry opportunity in terms of revenue. So you can see in 2025, calibrations is almost $1 billion business. And so what does that mean in terms of business? Well, again, you extrapolate those numbers, and if you get a business that can do 3 calibrations a day based on $300 per calibration, that's the number I just picked out of the air. It's my prediction that today we need 1,746 businesses that are doing calibration if the shops were properly writing and identifying ADAS technologies on the vehicle. Sometime around 2025, there's an opportunity for 3,800 calibration centers in the United States or North America. Again, my prediction. All right, so that's calibrations. Let's talk about vehicle electrification. So I can tell you this is the topic in the industry. Every OEM manufacturer, existing and new, are all coming out with a bunch of vehicles. And you can see here from this slide, they've made major commitments to EVs, and they're doubling down. Again, if you get a chance, go online, check out CES 2021, and look for news. Everybody's talking about EVs. GM yesterday just announced an EV delivery van. Anyway, but you can see that the hockey stick approach here. That by 2030, VW wants all their cars to be EVs. So what's coming? So here's in 2020, and again, you're not going to be able to read this in great detail, but you can see in 2020, there's, the Pacifica High, blah, blah, blah. You can read the list, right? We got the Ford Mustang Mach-E, big deal. The Polestar 2 is here. This was here last year, supposed to be here this last year. But then you go to 2021, you start to see a whole bunch more. Alfa Romeo, Audi, Bentley, BMW, you can go through the list, right? So this year is going to be a huge EV. You got Rivian with their truck. You got Lucid. You got Nissan coming out with a new EV. It's going to be huge. So it's going to be a ton of EVs in the market. Again, not compared to what's already in the market with the ICE vehicle, but a dramatic increase historically. And then you look ahead 2023, there's more. So when you start talking about our industry, I think EVs is going to be the hot topic for 2021. And the reason all this is happening is because the cost of batteries is dropping dramatically. Now, this is from 2019. And for those of you who follow Elon Musk and Tesla, he made a statement in his last battery day that he thinks he can reduce this by another 56%. So as that price comes down and the range goes up, the cost of the vehicle becomes almost equivalent to an ICE vehicle, and the maintenance on electric vehicles are low. You're not buying any gas. Now here in California, who knows? Our governor said we're by 2035, we're going to have no gas vehicles sold. Well, damn, we can't even keep our electricity going in our homes here. They get brownouts. So we'll see what our governor or what our state can figure out here in California with EVs when in 2035 comes. Anyway, so prices are going down. So what's going to happen? What does that mean to us on this call? Well, you're going to have new manufacturers, Rivian, Lucid, you get NIO, Lordstown. There's going to be a lot, right? Now, those new manufacturers are going to have new training requirements and new certification requirements for both the shops and the people who are going to repair the cars. And then you move to our existing manufacturers, new training, new certifications. Now, I will tell you, based on previous conversations I've had with new and existing, you can expect ongoing or increased parts usage or parts availability to shops that are not certified. So if you're not certified by a particular EV manufacturer, you're probably not going to be able to procure specific parts. And so then you start to talk about, okay, then a BEV, battery electric vehicle, they're all technology, right? So the repair and diagnostic processes are going to be different. There's going to be new and more calibrations on these vehicles because they're going to have more technology. The scan tools that your shops or your customer shops or your customers are using, they're going to become much more important and much more than a DTC reader or a diagnostic tool to figure out what's wrong. They're going to be used to calibrate cooling systems, transmissions, et cetera, motors. So the scan tools become much more important than just reading codes. And then you talk about this high voltage. You got all kinds of new safety and PPE requirements at the shop level. So it's going to be a little different. In my opinion, I think, and I'm already seeing it in the marketplace, I think shops that are going to be in the EV repair business are actually going to create a separate facility or a separate designation within their big facility so that those vehicles could be treated completely differently than ICE. Oh, by the way, I also think dealers are going to have two different types of technicians. You're going to have ICE and EV technicians. And by the way, with all this new BEV stuff, and by the way, this is going to happen too with telematics, the consumer connectivity to these vehicles it's going to be tremendous. They're going to be able to know where it's at, what's going on with it, where's it located. And so what does that mean to our industry? Well, that means is if those consumers are connected to their cars via the vehicle apps, the manufacturer's apps, that means they're going to know what's going on on the vehicle in the shop. So as a repairer, you're probably going to need to go into the repair procedures to figure out how to disconnect or disable the connectivity for the vehicle so the consumer doesn't get bombarded with messages saying, hey, they're taking my light off, they're opening my door, blah, blah, blah. So something to consider as a repairer. Now, just like everything else, with all this disruption comes new opportunities. I mean, BEV is going to be a great opportunity. I mean, it's just like anything else. If you take the time to learn and understand what you're going to need to do in your business to be able to repair and diagnose and calibrate and whatever it is that needs to be done with the BEVs, are going to be a huge opportunity. It's going to be a huge opportunity. Also, if you start to think about this technician shortage, and this is just my personal subjective opinion, I think this industry has so much to offer young kids regarding technology, getting involved with automotive technology, with all this new technology in the vehicles. Great opportunity to bring new people in. Artificial intelligence. So I'm going to go into it, but for most of us on this call, we already are being bombarded or being helped or communicating with or getting information from a bunch of websites or other things that are being driven by artificial intelligence already. If you have an Alexa, it's AI, okay? If you have a HomePod, it's AI. If you got Google's, whatever they call it. If you have a Nest thermostat, it's AI. So again, we're already dealing with AI on a day-to-day basis. So what is it going to do for our industry? Well, number one, ADAS technologies, a lot of it is being driven and controlled by artificial intelligence. So you can bet that as ADAS increases in the car park and in the vehicles, the use of AI will increase as well. So for example, the next big sensor thing you're going to see in vehicles is driver monitoring. And driver monitoring uses all kinds of artificial intelligence to determine, what's the state of that driver. Are they awake? Are they not awake? Are their eyes sleepy? Blah blah blah. So you're going to see it in the vehicles all over the place. Insurance and claims. They're already using artificial intelligence today. In a lot of cases, it's only going to ratchet up because artificial intelligence can make certain decisions, which makes claims and other insurance processes faster, better. Let me give you an example of AI. Outside of our industry, by the way. So in radiology, so you got radiologists to read the X-rays, and then you've got AI that's reading the X-rays. They have found that the AI X-rays that are being read are 97 point something% accurate versus the X-rays that are being read by radiologists, trained radiologists, are 10 points less accurate, 87 point something%. So proven outside of our industry, when implemented right, artificial intelligence can be really good at understanding certain things. So you're going to see insurance companies use AI for a ton of their processes and claims. Total losses, already in place, already being launched to be able to identify a total loss based on the damage in the car when it happens or damage on the car that is being taken by photos. Already in the process, it's going to continue to increase, and that will change the way total losses are handled. As I said earlier, if you have a profit center in your business based on total loss storage, you better find another profit center in the near future. We already talked about instant notice of loss. When it comes to estimating, you're going to see photo-based estimating using artificial intelligence to write estimates. Whether you like it or not, that's the future. And so not only will there be artificial intelligence for photos, I think there'll be AI used behind the scenes for other calculations. So estimating is going to change. Now, you could look at it and say, oh my God, what's going to happen? Well, again, as I said earlier, I think artificial intelligence used the right way and being accurate is going to help people who are trying to write a better, more detailed repair plan do their job instead of writing common stuff that we know already exists that you can identify via imaging. Calibrations. You're going to see AI be implemented into the calibration tools so that the calibrations are done faster, quicker, and more accurately. Same with diagnostics. You're going to see the diagnostic tools implement AI. They're going to be able to make quicker decisions. They're going to be able to actually make diagnostic decisions and not worry about a technician having to make those decisions. Okay. Logistics already in place in other parts of other parts of the world. I think for those of us who are in the supply business, supplying parts, supplying materials, supplying PBE stuff, AI is going to be a big benefit to the way you plan and distribute parts and supplies to your customers. AI is already being used in online social media marketing, to depending on what side of the fence you're on, to someone's benefit to someone's loss. Anyway, so and so AI really going to be disruptive. Now, again, I look at it as it's going to allow people to do their job better, and it's going to allow the job to get done quicker and more accurately. So again, my subjective opinion. The last thing I want to talk about is consolidation, specialization. For those of you who are jobbers on the call, for those of you who are repairers on the call, for those of you who are in other parts of the industry on the call, we all know what's going on with consolidation in all aspects of our industry. Repairers, insurers, suppliers, I go through the list, okay? So it ain't going away. So here's some numbers. Again, based on numbers, I believe Vince Romans did a report recently. 32,000 repair facilities still. It's about a $38 billion a year business. In terms of revenue, it could be bigger, but I'm going to use 38 billion. What's very interesting, by the way, 90% of the P&C world is dominated by the top 10 insurers. So consolidations already dominates that part of the business. Now here's some interesting numbers. So there's about 100 multi-shop operators in North America with less than 3,000 locations. 3,000 locations, okay, that are capturing about 16 billion of the 38 billion in revenue opportunity. So that means 3,000 locations out of 32,000, okay? 10% is equal 40% of the industry. So consolidation ain't going away. As you've probably read, private equity continues to pour money into this business. Most recently, there was a group out of Pennsylvania, and there'll be more. There'll be more. It's still a fractured industry. 32,000 repair facilities. You know, there's only 3,000 locations today that have been consolidated, so lots of more opportunity. Okay. Private equity likes the business, and if you haven't read, Driven Brands is filed for an IPO. I forget the number. I won't guess, but you're going to see more of that as well. And why? Well, I mean, it's a cycle. I mean, the bigger you get, if I acquire a business and it's the right acquisition, it's going to make my business more valuable, which allows me to get more money, which allows me to acquire more businesses. So leverage, buying power, centralized management, etc. So it's not going away. I've said this for years now. If you're an independent, you need to be part of something bigger. I'm not saying you need to be acquired, but I think the industry and the business is so complex today. The technology is going to continue to change so rapidly. My recommendation is, become part of something bigger, an association, a repair network, whatever it is, because living on your own island, it could be tough. It could be tough. And last thing I want to talk about is specialization. In another presentation I talk about how can a shop properly test drive a vehicle when there's 19 different ADAS systems out in the marketplace today, and how does anybody know how to properly test all 19 different ADAS systems? It's virtual impossibility. So when you start to look at the technology, but by the way, ADAS systems, most of your manufacturers are working on their own operating systems. You got fusion technology coming in, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the technology is going to be too complicated for everybody to be able to repair every vehicle. So when you start to talk about specializations, the vehicle complexity is going to drive this industry to become specialists. I think already the largest MSOs in the industry are figuring out certain specific locations and certain specific markets are going to become OEM certified. So I think that's going to be the case throughout the industry. I mean, you look at other industries, medicine, for example. I mean, you have an industry full of specialists and a very few number of generalists anymore. So I think that the vehicle complexity are going to drive that. Also, I think the training requirements are going to drive it because the changes are going to come so fast because technology changes so fast, it's going to be almost impossible for someone to keep up for training in all of the OEMs systems. I just don't think you can do it. And then it's going to be equipment investments. Trust me, the equipment investments ain't going to get any cheaper. You're going to need more electronic equipment. You're going to need more electronic training. And so I think, it's going to be impossible. So you're going to have more equipment. And then when you start to talk about the cost and the ROI of OEM certifications, which ones make the most sense for your business? And again, that's going to drive you to specialize. New repair processes are going to drive specializations. You heard me talk about it earlier. I believe calibrations, diagnostics are going to become a specialty. I believe it's a business on its own. I believe that you're going to see more and more of those standalone businesses pop up in your markets. If I were younger and I were a repairer, I would be looking, especially if I own multiple locations. If I were a repairer with multiple locations, I would right now be looking at a facility, equipment, software, and people to open up my own calibration center. And by the way, I mentioned this thing I'm about to say to several people. If I were a jobber and I serviced a specific marketplace, if it were me, I'd go talk to all my customers and say, hey, look, are you planning to get into the calibration business? If they're not, I would get into it to help them and service them. That's me. But again, I've told this to many people, and some people have told me I'm crazy. So anyway, I think specialization is going to be a requirement going forward. I don't think it's not going to happen overnight, but I just think the complexities of the vehicles, the training, the equipment, the ROI, the new repair processes are going to drive it. So there you have it. We talked about COVID and the changes that I believe are going to be here permanently. We talked about how rapid the implementation of virtual claims technologies are going to occur, and it's going to occur very quickly. We talked about the implications of what the increasing penetration of ADAS technology into the car park means. We talked about the vehicle electrification. That's going to be a new buzzword for the next year going forward. We talked about AI, and we talked about consolidation and specialization. Now, I'm not going to talk about, as I said earlier, there's also OEM certifications, there's big data, there's augmented reality and virtual reality. Those are also other disruptive trends you're going to see in the business. So I want to wrap up, and again, just a little bit about what we do. So again, our ADAS Copilot is the fastest, easiest, and most accurate way for a repair facility to identify and inspect a vehicle's ADAS and safety systems. Our Calibration Copilot platform is the best way for any business to offer, manage, document, and invoice for ADAS and documentation and diagnostic services. And our patent pending test drive system is the world's only, from what I know, system that helps the shop properly perform, manage, and document test drives. And again, if you like my book, please go out and get it. It benefits the industry. And at that point, Melissa, it's open up for questions. So we got 15 minutes available for questions.
Okay. Well, if anybody wants to ask Frank anything, go ahead and type it in. As always, I will follow up with everybody on the call, and I'll send them your information. So if they want to contact you directly, they can also do that.
Melissa, did we get anybody to respond about the challenges or no?
We didn't.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody still wants to respond on that. You can, but I didn't see anything come over. Well, I don't see any questions now, but a lot of times people like to follow up individually, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up. We really appreciate you being here, Frank, and everybody who joined us. A lot of good information, a lot of changes coming down the pike.
Again, Melissa, thanks for having me. I always enjoy it. Always like sharing my thoughts. And all I will say is, there's a lot of opportunity out there as long as the people are prepared.
Sure is. Well, thank you, Frank. And thanks, everybody. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for past webinars. And we appreciate your comments and your thumbs up if you like it. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Melissa. Thanks, everybody.